What if I told you the greatest investor who ever lived has a secret, and it has almost nothing to do with picking stocks? Most people think Warren Buffett is rich because he's smart. He is, but plenty of smart people aren't worth $160 billion. Most people think he's rich because he found great companies. He did, but plenty of great analysts found the same companies. The real secret is something so simple, so unglamorous, that most people hear it and immediately move on looking for something more complicated. But here's the thing. Once you understand it, you'll realize it doesn't just apply to investing, it applies to your entire life. And by the end of this video, I think you'll see Warren Buffett and the way you're spending your years in a completely different way. Before we get into the story, let's establish just how extraordinary this man's record actually is. Warren Buffett took control of a failing textile company called Berkshire Hathaway in 1965. The share price was around $19. From 1964 to 2024, Berkshire delivered a compounded annual gain of 19.9%, nearly double the S&P 500's 10.4%. Now, those two numbers, 19.9% versus 10.4%, sound close. They're not. A $100 investment in Berkshire Hathaway at the start of 1965 would be worth roughly $6.1 million by the end of 2025, versus about $45,500 for the S&P 500. Same 60 years, same starting amount, $6.1 million versus $45,500. Even if Berkshire shares fell by 99% tomorrow, from roughly $795,000 to $7,954, it would still have outperformed the S&P 500 since 1965. That is the most extraordinary long-term investment record in the history of financial markets. And here's the first hint of the secret. Because this record wasn't built in a few spectacular years. It was built slowly, consistently, over 6 decades. And as we'll see, that isn't just a fact about investing. It's the whole point.
To understand why Buffett succeeded, you need to understand where he started. Warren Edward Buffett was born on August 30th, 1930, in Omaha, Nebraska. His father, Howard, was a stockbroker, so finance was always in the air. Buffett got his first taste of entrepreneurship at age 6, when he started selling packs of chewing gum door to door in the neighborhood. He then moved to selling Coca-Cola, buying 6 packs for 25 cents and selling each bottle for a nickel. He'd already figured out margin. At 11 years old, he made his first investment, buying 3 shares of City Service Preferred at $38 per share. The stock quickly dropped to only $27, but Buffett held on tenaciously until it reached $40. He sold, made a small profit, then watched the stock go to $202. And he never forgot that lesson. Patience, not profit-taking, was the game. After making $2,000 delivering newspapers by the age of 15, Buffett invested $1,200 in a 40-acre Nebraska farm. At 15, buying farmland. By the time he graduated high school, he was richer than most of his teachers. He studied under Benjamin Graham at Columbia Business School, the father of value investing, and absorbed Graham's core idea. Every stock is a piece of a business, not a lottery ticket. Buy it for less than it's worth. That's it. Buffett called this approach cigar butt investing, finding companies that had one last puff of value left in them, buying them cheap and moving on. It worked, but it wasn't yet the full picture. Because in 1959, Warren Buffett met someone who changed everything.
Charlie Munger was a lawyer from Omaha, sharp, blunt, and intellectually restless in a way that matched Buffett perfectly. They met at a dinner party and immediately recognized something in each other. Two people who thought about business and value the same way, but approached it from different angles. Munger's great contribution was this: stop buying mediocre companies at cheap prices. Start buying great companies at fair prices. Cigar butt investing had a ceiling. You'd find a beaten-down company, extract the last bit of value, and move on. It worked at small scale, but you couldn't build an empire that way. What Munger showed Buffett was the alternative, a truly exceptional business, one with durable competitive advantages, pricing power, and exceptional management compounds your money on your behalf, year after year, without you having to do anything. You don't extract value, you hold and let value grow. Buffett has said many times that Munger evolved him, that the partnership moved him from a fair business at a wonderful price investor to a wonderful business at a fair price investor. The result was Coca-Cola, American Express, See's Candies, Apple. Businesses so dominant in their categories that competitors couldn't touch them. And this shift in philosophy set the stage for the secret we've been building toward. Because it turns out, the key wasn't the companies. The key was what Buffett did after he bought them.
Here's something most people have heard, but very few have truly understood. Warren Buffett has amassed close to 95% of his personal wealth after age 65. Let that sit for a moment. As Morgan Housel wrote in The Psychology of Money, his skill is investing, but his secret is time. And as Housel said in a 2022 CNBC interview, if Buffett retired at age 65, you would have never heard of him. When Buffett was 65, his net worth was approximately $3 billion. Today, it's $160 billion. That means 98% of his wealth was created in the decades after most people stopped working. This is the first secret hiding in plain sight. It's not the annual returns that made Buffett extraordinary. It's the number of years he applied those returns. Think about how compounding actually works. In the early years, your money grows modestly. A 20% return on $100,000 is only $20,000. Useful, but not life-changing. But a 20% return on $50 billion is $10 billion in a single year. The numbers only become absurd after decades of accumulation. Buffett has been compounding since he was 11. That's over 80 years of uninterrupted compounding. There is no other investor in modern history who started that young and never stopped. Now here's where the shock comes in, because patience doesn't mean passivity. Buffett is famous for sitting on cash, sometimes for years, waiting for the right price. He once went years without making a major acquisition, not because deals didn't exist, but because they weren't cheap enough. And when they
Finally, when a crisis hits, when a company stumbles, when fear drives prices to irrational lows, Buffett moves. Fast and large. During the 2008 financial crisis, when everyone else was paralyzed, Buffett deployed billions into Goldman Sachs, General Electric, and others, on his terms, at extraordinary prices that only a desperate counterparty would accept. He waited. They needed him. He got terms no one else could get. Patience isn't just a virtue in investing. It's a weapon. But here's the thing about Buffett's patience that most people miss. He wasn't waiting reluctantly. He wasn't impatiently watching the clock, desperate to deploy capital. He was reading, thinking, enjoying himself. And that brings us to the second secret, the deeper one.
Here's the question nobody asks about Warren Buffett. If you had $160 billion, could you still live in the same house you bought in 1958?
Buffett has continued to live in the same ordinary house in Omaha, Nebraska that he purchased in 1958 for $31,500. He has a fondness for fast food and Coca-Cola. He often jokes that he eats like a 6-year-old, with a preference for hamburgers, steaks, and cherry Coke. His day starts at 6:45 a.m. after getting at least 8 hours of sleep. He drops into the local McDonald's for breakfast. He lets the market dictate his order. $2.61 on a down day, $3.17 on a good one. Exact change in the cup holder. He doesn't own a yacht. He doesn't have a collection of mansions. He called his Omaha house the third best investment he ever made and has zero intention of leaving. Now, most people tell this story as a frugality lesson, about not spending money, about discipline. But I think that completely misses the point. Buffett doesn't live simply because he's cheap. He lives simply because
He genuinely doesn't want anything else. Here's the real truth about Warren Buffett. He never stopped doing what he loved. At 11, he fell in love with reading about businesses and understanding how money compounds. And for the next 84 years, he spent his life, almost every single day, doing exactly that. Reading, thinking, evaluating companies, writing shareholder letters, running an organization he found endlessly interesting. He didn't retire, not because he had to keep working, because the work was the point. Buffett recently stepped down from the CEO post after 6 decades, handing the reins to Greg Abel while remaining chairman at 94. He led Berkshire as CEO for over 50 years, well past the age most people associate with retirement, not because he was trapped, because he was free. And here's the insight that connects the investing secret and the life secret into one. Compounding only works if you don't stop.
In investing, the magic happens in the final decades, but only if you were patient enough to stay invested through all the difficult years before them. In life, the deepest fulfillment comes from decades of work that matters to you, but only if you chose the right work in the first place. Buffett could afford to stop at 40, at 50, at 65. He didn't, because he didn't want to. That's not discipline. That's alignment. He found something worth doing, something that kept his mind engaged, that he was genuinely excellent at, that produced value for others and for himself. And he did it every single day for 80 years. As one profile put it, the growth in his wealth was possible through the power of compounding. "My life has been a product of compound interest," Buffett once said. He wasn't just talking about money. So here's what I want you to take from this. Warren Buffett's investing secret, patience, time, paying the right price, is well documented. You've probably heard it before. But the version that actually changed how I see things is this. His life and his investing philosophy are the same philosophy. Find what compounds. Be patient with it. Don't stop. In investing, that means starting early, staying the course, and letting time do the work most people won't wait for. In life, that means finding work worth doing. Work that doesn't feel like waiting. Because if you have to wait to retire from something, you may have chosen the wrong something. The Oracle of Omaha spent 80 years doing exactly what he wanted to do, and the money was almost a byproduct. That's not a story about investing. That's a story about how to spend your years. Wealth wisdom. If you found this useful, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. It genuinely helps this channel reach more people who need to hear it. I'll see you in the next one.